Welcome to episode 55 of the World Builders Amble. As always, I'm your host, Jeffrey W. Ingram, and today I have a very special interview with Monica Spath. Don't know where to start building your fantasy world? Do you need more? Does it make sense? Forget any worries and become a crafter of imagination. This is the place that will help prime your mind. Now, it's time to heat up the forge, break out the mithril ingots and hammer. Welcome to the World Builders Anvil. I'm your host, Jeffrey W. Ingram. Let's sup from the mug of Java and build. While adjusting during the day, Monica is a storyteller, artist, weaver, animator, lover of science fiction and movie writings. And most especially, she enjoys storytelling and curling a bit in upstate New York. Let's all give a special thanks to Monica Spath. Hello, is there anything else you'd like people to know about you, Monica?
Well, I'm a weaver part-time, and I have been, coming up with different stories, ever since I was little. And I've been creating stories, talking into a tape recorder of different stories and coming up with different voices and just other things like that. And also trying to find a way of taking the ideas in my head and presenting them to the world. Very
understandable and a tricky spot. And I know I was just there not too long ago. All right. So how do you feel today? Do you feel orc or elf?
Definitely elf.
So you're not an author, and I usually ask people what their latest work is. So from a world building standpoint, has there been anything that you've been working on recently, whether it be for role playing or for a story that you've been recording?
Well, there has been some ideas that have been brewing in my head for quite a long time. It all started with an idea that came popping to my head, and I looked at it and I said, I really can't work on this at this point. Tossed in the back of my mind, and one thing I've learned is never leave anything in your mind for a long time. So when I remembered it was back there, I looked back in my mind and I found an entire planet in my imagination. I thought, what the heck is this? So it was like, okay, I really need to do something with this.
So it just sort of grew back there on you, huh?
Exactly. And so it was like, wow. All the technology, the modes of transportation, the different species on the planet, the different environments, the different towns, the different cities all over the place. And it's like, yeah, I need to do something with this.
All right. Now, would you sort of classify that as sort of an Earth-like kind of world where it's similar to Earth but a different planet? Or is it a bit more alien than Earth?
It's kind of like Earth, the environments on it. There are deserts, there are tropical places, temporal environments, the different cities around, especially cloud cities, and cities on the ground and in caves and other areas.
So it's Earth-like, but obviously the fantasy elements come out in it. Very good. Is there a specific period of time where your world's taking place in, or what is it about the world like that we could also tie back to it in? So is it sort of your classic fantasy medieval, or is it a different time period, or is it in a whole bunch of time periods?
Actually, it's sort of medieval in certain areas, and then in other areas it's more modern. Modern by way of just different types of technology is what I mean by modern. But besides that, it's a combination of the two.
So is it like different cultures in the world have different technology, and there's a widespread of it? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, there are species that definitely have more updated technology. One right quick are airships. They look like old-fashioned clipper ships, but instead of sailing on the water, which they can, they sail through the air. But the way they do that is by solar power that is collected by photovoltaic threads in the sailcloth. And then it's collected through a crystal underneath the center mast, and then at the flick of a switch, it's sent to the hull and makes the hull light as air. And when you get a stiff enough breeze behind it, you get flight.
It's interesting now. Is the ability for the ship to sail on the water kind of a backup system for if there isn't enough sunlight, or is that why it does both water or air, or is it more just an aesthetic desire for it to look that way?
It kind of looks like the old-fashioned clipper ships. The special type of wood, it's from an arbor tree, is what the wood is, and it has in its normal state, it's kind of like the wood in the old-fashioned clipper ships, but it has a very unique property that when electricity is exposed to it, it changes the molecular structure of the wood and it makes it light as air.
Oh, very cool concept. So now, you have a background, I believe, of an RPG game master. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yes, I have played a couple of RPG games and they're quite fascinating.
Now, were you the storyteller in those, or did you interact as a player?
I acted as a player. A friend of mine usually is the one who is the dungeon master in those things. So
Okay. So is this is really sort of your first exposure at storytelling, sort of preparing to share it out with people. Is that correct?
I've had I have had some experience with storytelling before that time. Most of the storytelling I've heard is from some trips I have taken over to England, where they had a storyteller on the tour itself, and so it was listening to how, by way of the stories that the storyteller was telling on these type of tours, actually it's called Harry Potter fan tours, that were quite fascinating, and it definitely kept your attention on the story itself. And the woman who was telling the story is a full-time storyteller, and she was very, very good.
But more precisely, I'm saying from your perspective, for you sharing the stories out with people, though, is this sort of going to be your first endeavor at sharing them out with other people?
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay. I love
Actually,
stories.
actually, I have told stories from a group that I am part of, or writing club that I'm part of. I have told stories from this world to them, and I have definitely gotten some attention from them about that.
Very good. That's one thing where, so from an oral standpoint, that's how you deliver the stories to the group, or is it like stories written down that are shared, or both?
Actually, I've been more speaking them than writing them down. It's just fairly recently I've started to write them down.
One of the things I really like about storytelling orally, whether it's through an RPG or through just like sharing a story that you've made up, is you get instant feedback. Is there a bit of an exhilaration on your end with that?
I definitely agree, because what I see when I tell people the stories that come up, that it tweaks their interest, and it seems as though they would like to hear more, and that is to me is the greatest compliment to see that their wide eyes and their real interest in the stories that I tell. So that's a good little nod to the stories that I have come up, especially in this world, that I definitely have something here.
Awesome. So there's definitely an audience. There's nothing more compelling than an audience. All right.
Very true.
So, when you're writing, how do you connect your world building back to the story without sounding like an encyclopedia?
Basically, I've been just letting the story tell itself. That may sound a little confusing, but it's just when I do create stories, I usually just let the story organically create itself. It's kind of like just listening to other people tell their stories. And I'm just there as an interpreter of the stories as I tell other people of the stories themselves. Because deep down inside, there is a story there, especially in the world that I've created. And I just open myself up to whatever comes from within.
Now, obviously, you're not sharing this stuff right now. Would you say you've had an I can moment, which is a moment where you've decided that, hey, I can share this out?
Well, just fairly recently, actually. When I started thinking about this planet I have in my head, I thought, wait a minute, I really have to do something with this because it came through me. It was created deep within my own imagination. And the really crazy thing is that I didn't create it. It sort of created itself through me. And so I thought, yeah, something inside me is telling me that I really should do something with this, because whatever this thing is, it's a gift. And I felt that I definitely have to work on this and to get these stories and these ideas out to the world, because I feel deep within me that that's what I'm supposed to do with it. And it's not just a gift to me, but it's a gift to anyone who wants to hear and to listen to the stories.
Now, in your world as a non-world builder, a non-storyteller, there's a lot of skills you sort of develop when you start world building. You know, for example, being able to organize things sort of coherently, being able to abstractly envision things that aren't in front of you. Obviously, like your airships, you have to be able to envision what those are before you can even create them. So what are some ways that your world building skills have aided you outside of world building and storytelling?
Well, it allows me to try and draw out the different elements that are in the planet itself. But it also has allowed me to look at the world itself that I live in, to open it up and to really look at what is there. Not just the planet in my head, but just to look at life itself, the real world itself, to look around and see what's around me each and every single day.
Yeah, sort of a way to understand how it ticks. It kind of gives you the interest of like, how does this flower open up? How does it get a shape? Or how does a car work? All of those things. Is that what you're saying?
About close to, yes.
Yeah, not maybe exactly those items, but the idea of you have this tendency to want to learn how things actually work because of your imagination.
Exactly.
Very good. All right. So what would you say to this point in your life is your biggest achievement?
Truthfully, running my first marathon.
Wow. That would be truthfully. Yes, that's a big one.
Actually, that was back in 1996, actually it was 1994. Excuse me. I've run 4 altogether, but that first one is always the special one.
I can imagine. I mean, just 26 miles in a day running that. That is quite an achievement. Wow. All right. What real world advice do you wish you knew sooner?
Let me think. Well, being able to trust myself a little more with what is within me, with what comes from my imagination. Because before that time, I was more focusing on what's outside instead of looking within myself and tapping what is within, not just within me, but within my own imagination. And before that time, I was looking outside myself, looking at the different environments outside. There's nothing wrong with doing that because you can get a lot of inspiration from outside. But I was not looking within myself and seeing what was inside my own imagination as much. And so if I had to do it over again, I would start looking within my own imagination and seeing what was in there.
Sort of let your own passions, your own ideas sort of drive your life instead of in reverse?
Exactly.
Tell us a quick story about some task that could have gotten you started sooner in storytelling and world building.
Start writing things down a little bit quicker than I have in the past because the whole planet in my mind is visual, and as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I would start writing things down a lot quicker than I have. I'm writing them down right now, but I would start a lot quicker, a lot earlier than I have been.
I think that's very good advice. I think it's easy to ignore those words up there, and if you don't actually start doing it, you're just not doing it. You know?
Very true.
Here we are coming up upon the gauntlet round. And this is the round where I like to torture the people who have kindly offered to come on my show. And I ask you a question, and you just respond with 1 or 2 sentences as quickly as you can. Are you ready for the gauntlet?
Absolutely.
Very good. So, what held you back from sharing your world?
Fear.
You know, this just makes me think, at some point I need to go down and actually start recording people's answers to some of these. I think it would be very interesting. Fear is definitely one that comes up a lot. And to be honest, it's been the same for me. So, okay. What types of fantasy worlds are your favorite? Alien, Earth-like, or Earth-based?
Earth-like.
What is your favorite time period for a fantasy setting?
Medieval.
What is the most important habit or skill in creating a world?
Being very flexible.
What tool or tools could you not work without?
My iPad.
What is one resource you would offer to a world builder starting down your path?
A piece of paper and a pencil.
If you ended up in a world you created, or in your circumstance, in the world you created, what would be the first thing that you would do?
First thing I would do is go find my friends Connor, Scotty, my friend Filana, my friend Barin, and my friend Kadris, and check out and see how they're all doing.
Very good. Personally, I think if I was in your world, I'd go straight for the airships, but that's just all right. Well, I actually I want to thank you very much for your time, Monica. Taking your time to share some of your thoughts with the other people who listen to the show out there. Everything helps. Quick question. Is there any chance that you're ever going to come up with a way, or are you looking to come up with a way to start sharing these stories in a larger arena? Through a podcast or a website, or trying to get published?
Well, right now I'm just writing down some information that I'm definitely going to be putting out at some point onto a website. And long term, I was thinking about creating a podcast where I would give visual tours of the planet I have in my head, to travel around to the different environments, to going and meeting individuals and interviewing them, and just different things like that.
Interesting. Very cool. All right. Well, is there any way that people who want to get in contact with you could do that across the internet?
Well, I do have a Facebook page, and I have actually I have 2 Facebook pages underneath my name. I get into both by 2 different email addresses, and so, but I do have a Twitter account, but I haven't checked that in a long time, so that would not be a good source. But just Facebook at this present time.
Okay. All right. Well, once again, thank you very much for your time. And I want to say right now to everyone who's listening, go out to Facebook, go look for Monica's Mystic Thread. Go ahead and like that. If you want to interact with her, it's a great way to do it. And once again, thank you for your time, Monica.
Yeah, you're quite welcome.
And as always, make sure to go to gardul.com. That's GARDUL.com for the show notes. It'll be under Podcasting, World Builders Anvil. That's a great place to get all of the information from the episode that you've just listened to, and to see all the resources that we've talked about in this episode. Thanks for joining us this episode of the World Builders Anvil. Please be sure to rate and review us in iTunes, and please help get the word out to your friends about our show. And join me, Jeffrey W. Ingram at gardul.com, to see the progress of my world and learn why I made the choices I did. And please contact me and let me know the topics you would love to hear in the future. Now strike, while the myth rolls high.